You been living for your friends, you too damn amigo-centric. Took the knife out my back and started cutting through the tension. Cause when the family feud, it feel like jeopardy's expected. So in essence, never let your fears take you on another route. I'm the lead in a stunt double, fuck you talking about?
Take me back just a little bit to your very first freelance rap battle that happened in a schoolyard. What was happening?
We could take it there.
Let's go there.
Absolutely.
What happened?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, freestyle rapping and battling was such an integral part of just growing up at that time. And it was just a way to be creative and just like flex your lyrical abilities. And, I think the battle you're referring to is one with Tory Lanez, when we were both like 15, 14.
Crazy.
And, it was wild, just to think that such young kids, loved this art form so much. And to reflect on that as a grown man now is beautiful. It's beautiful. Just showing, just sticking to your grind and your passion. Yeah. That
wasn't that long from the time that you got here. You came from Lagos, Nigeria, moved to Ottawa initially and then Brampton. How did becoming a rapper, finding your voice, getting into this art form, how did it help you navigate becoming a Canadian, being here in this country, being a newcomer, and then finding your place? Did it help with that?
100%. It was therapeutic. When I left Nigeria, my mom gave me a couple of things, but the most important thing that she gave me was a blank book. She gave me a blank book that I could write in.
Right.
Because I always loved reading as a child. So that was one of the things she gave me. And when I was in Ottawa, it was just me and my dad for like a year and a half. So as you can imagine, I was missing, my mom, missing my sisters, you know what I'm saying? So that book was everything. I put everything in that book. My fears, my joys. It was like a friend, you know what I'm saying? And that's where, love for music was born out of.
Writing in that book, did it feel like a release or did it feel like a place that you could just organize thoughts about this new place you were in? Was it more lyrics or was it more how were you using it?
That's a great question.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I was fixated on poetry and writing something that had like a poetic nature to it.
Okay.
So even if it was like a diary of, this place is really cold, you know what I mean? I wanted to tell a story about why it was cold, how it made me feel, and change like my physical reality into like a fantasy that I preferred, to be honest with you. So that's how it worked.
So escape as well. So it was a place to escape to.
Absolutely.
Love that. You told me about rapping in the schoolyard, but I understand that you initially sang. You're a singer. You have a beautiful voice because you sing on both albums. But you sang in a church choir. So you're like rapping in the schoolyard. Yeah. But then on Sunday, you're like, okay, it's time to get up on the, on the pulpit and do some singing.
Absolutely, yeah.
When did you decide to bring those two worlds together? That beautiful singing voice and then your rapping.
So
not everyone can do it,
For sure. For sure. And it's kind of like it's a fine line to toe because, some people who may identify you as a singer, some may identify you as a rapper. But, I like to call myself a rapper that sings.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, it literally happened when I was like 20, 21 years old. Me and my manager were in a studio one day and he heard me doing these like vocal trills and he was like, yo, what is that? I didn't know you could do that. And it was just, that encouragement to keep doing it. Yeah. And that's part of artistic development. I think every artist, once they grow as an artist, you show the full breadth of who you are as a person.
For sure.
And hopefully, you know, that aids in your human development as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all a journey.
It's all a journey. Let's listen to a little bit more from the new album.
Yeah.
This is the first track. It's called Life is a Jungle.
Light up our path. Some days I ask for restraint. Some days I stand up and raise my weary hands to the sky. My teary eyes see a picture that I'm so desperate to change. Hope keep on passing me by. Slip through the crack of my hands. That's why I live in the lane. To see my vision displayed, I put it all on the canvas. I cannot miss what I say. They think it's all glitz and glamour. Look at the way I was raised. I can't take nothing for granted. Marble floor foyer. We standing homeless as outside just can't.
This song creates this sense of a world in chaos. Like it's messy. So I mean, it very much is the world that I feel like we're all kind of swimming through right now.
Yeah.
It references politicians lying, being desperate for change, and it ends with saying, though, this is the thing. The ending is, let's get in the booth, whip up some melodies. Yeah, okay, let's get in the groove. Why did you decide to end the song that way? Something that was just so, you know, you're like, yeah, everything's so messy. And then you just come in with just like this, here's this gift.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, ending that way.
You know, I got to be honest. A lot of people are struggling right now. You know, a lot of people are struggling, and youth as well. You know, I think the feeling of like hopelessness, you know, it just is what it is, right? Because I think a lot of young people are exposed to what's going on in the world, but they don't have like tangible power. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So that feeling of caring so much about something but not being able to do anything about it is such a strange line to toe. And that's basically what I was conveying in that song. And I think after such a like super lyrical, you know, deep, you know, verbal verse, I was like, but you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not going to wallow, right?
Right.
And I don't want anybody to feel that way. You know, I want you to still find joy in what you're doing, joy in the process, joy in living and expression. And that's why I said, okay, let's get in the groove.
It feels to me like that for as young as you are, you're figuring it out. Like you're figuring it out how art can aid this process of yours. And I know that earlier in your life, before you took on music full time, you were working as a youth counselor, helping people, youth in Toronto. Can you kind of give me an example of how you navigated that work and what that environment was like, and then how that environment has colored the person that you've become, the musician you've become? So first, take me there.
Right.
What was going on? What were you doing in the with the youth there? What were you seeing?
I was working with youth of all different backgrounds. Some of them were Crown Wards, so they were in government care. Some of them were still, you know, with their parents, but their parents may have had challenges, you know, raising them on their own, so they needed assistance. In that job, I realized how important social services really is, because I worked with, you know, child and youth workers, social workers, child psychologists, and it was this like holistic environment where we were in constant communication of how to make a child's life better, so that by the time they're 18, 19, 20 years old and they are legal adults, they can be productive members of society, right? So I learned a lot in that period, you know, and I wasn't much older than some of these people. Like I was like 23, 24, you know what I'm saying? But just seeing that the goal is to help integrate people with troubled pasts into society where they aren't like burdens on the system, but rather, you know, productive and like having like a zest and a zeal for life. Is challenging work.
I was going to say, there must have been some hard days in there.
Definitely. And till this day, like I still will talk to some of those people who are on the front lines, here and there, just to like check in. And it's definitely very tough. But that's where we would lean on each other.
Yeah.
Lean on each other and, just really like have each other's backs. Cause like that is a very important role when we go outside and we see, people who are like repeat offenders with the justice system. A lot of them come from a past that, they experienced some sort of traumatic event at like 13.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, the lesson that I learned from that is everybody's trajectory can change if there is a person or a factor that comes into their life to alter the direction of their life. So I don't think anybody's a lost cause.
Tell me how that experience led to committing to music full time. Like, what is the jump that you made in your head that you were like, okay, this is the thing I'm doing now, but this is the thing that I have to do.
Yeah.
Which is the music.
Absolutely.
What was the jump?
I think it's that when I was like in the middle of work thinking about song lyrics and concepts, I was like, I think I know where my heart is telling me to go,
Right.
And I couldn't stop thinking about this like grander purpose that I had. And I was like, this doesn't feel sufficient to me.
Right.
As much as I genuinely love this profession and this field of work, it didn't feel like it was my calling.
So it sounds to me like you were in service in one way, and then you were like, but my real service is this.
Yeah.
So it's not that different. Like, it's just like my service becomes something else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Let's listen to a bit of another track.
Back on me. I hope you never turn your back on me. I'm going further, baby. Ooh, back on you. You know I never turn my back on you. Let's take it further, yeah. Because I love you, I will never fold. Because I love you, I will never fold. Had to say it twice just to let you know. Till it's set in stone, gotta let him go. A bunch of stories that was never told. But will you
TOBi.
get the message? No Rosetta
That's
Stone
Never
if I
Fold.
tell-
That's Never Fold. Tell me what the song's about.
Never Fold is about never giving up, never succumbing to whatever pressure or challenge is in front of you, And I think that everybody has the will within them to overcome any challenge or obstacle. I sincerely believe that.
When I hear that, it's like you're opening up your chest and giving us a lot of vulnerability. So can you talk to me about how the lyrics are reflecting on your own life and why vulnerability is important to you and what you do?
First of all, I write these lyrics from the standpoint of a black man, a black male. And I hope that young black men hear these lyrics and can feel seen, but also feel powerful as well, to know that they have an inner power that they should tap into, because I think it's one thing to expect the world to change to suit your demands, but it's another thing for you to recognize that we don't have time to wait for the world to change. I really don't have time for that.
How did you get to that, though? How did you get to that realization? Was there something that happened to you that created that realization that we don't have time to waste?
The turning point in my life was when I started learning about history and learning about African history, Caribbean history, colonialism, reading about Frantz Fanon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when my eyes were like, oh, life is real. Like, this is not just a game, you know what I mean? Like, there are rules that were set in place before you were born that are affecting your life right now. So understand what those rules are so that you can have longevity and also have and live a beautiful life. Like, we all deserve that. Everybody deserves that. but some people don't think that they deserve a beautiful life.
Does it frighten you to be as vulnerable as you are with the music that you make in the rap world?
No.
You're all right with it?
Yeah, supremely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What are your fans saying about the lyrics? What are you hearing from your fans about what your music is doing or touching in them?
I think people do appreciate the vulnerability in the lyrics, and I think people appreciate that my intention is always to heal. You know, even if something sounds harsh, even if it sounds, rough or aggressive, the intention is to heal. At the end of the day, rage is a valid expression. You know what I mean? Anger, disappointment, joy, laughter, it's all part of the human experience. So if I can channel that through music, people appreciate that, because it's like, I'm just a human being like everybody else. You know what I mean? I have my highs and my lows, but we keep it pushing, you know, and enjoying this life.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Let's hear something else.
Yeah. Driving you, my baby. Driving you, my baby, baby. Driving you, my baby. Driving you, my baby.
That's TOBi with Who's Driving You. It's from Elements Volume 2, his latest album featuring Julie Black and Big Socks, Socrates, a couple of R&B and hip-hop legends in Canada. Why was it important for you to include these Canadian legends on this album?
Oh, my goodness. Because they're iconic, and they're iconic not just in Canada, they're iconic globally. I think that Socrates is one of the most brilliant producers in hip hop, period. And Julie Black, the reason why I love Julie Black is not just her being an artist, but just who she is as a person. Yeah. She's so full of life and inspiring, and she's always trying to, put women in a place of respect and power and joy, you know what I mean? And to me, to see people be at the top of their craft for so long is inspiring, and it's something that I definitely see for myself. And I wanted to make sure that they love the song.
Yeah.
Because it's paying homage to Julie Black's record in the late 90s.
How did Sox react when you approached them and said, we need to do something together?
They loved it.
Yeah.
They loved it. Sox and I, we've been speaking for the last 3 years. He's taken on a mentorship role with me.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So, that's somebody that I can flip ideas with and just, talk about music on a high level. And Julie, we've connected several times in different events, different spaces. So to get their voices on there, to me, that was powerful. That was powerful because it's showing generations and lineage.
That's right.
And it's like, yo, these two are still fresh. You know what I mean? 20 years later since the original song came out, they're still fresh artists. You know what I mean? So I love that.
It's funny. I was talking to the producer here about talking to you about this very thing. And, in rock and roll, we're still looking back all the time and pulling those artists forward. But rap and hip hop has this other thing that happens. It's like, oh, but what did he do last? Like, what was the latest thing he or she did? Right? As opposed to look at this incredible foundation that we're still building on. And I think we do this, especially Canadians. I think we do this. Do you feel like we do enough to honor those that came before in R&B and hip hop in Canada?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because people don't even know the full depth of how rich Canadian R&B and hip hop is. You know what I mean? And when I say we, I actually also mean like the youth. The youth don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I look at like, when I look at like some of these young people, super young, and I put them on to that music, they're like, oh, this is fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I put them on to, you know, Lauryn Hill, for example, I put this young girl on to Lauryn Hill. And, you know, her favorite artist was like Sexy Red or something like that. I was like, all right, cool. But once she heard that Lauryn Hill, she said, oh, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it
Tell your
is.
friends.
Yeah.
Go listen to this. So, you know, I think we need to do the knowledge a little bit in Canada. And, you know, and this isn't even to like chastise anybody. It's just to be like, yo, just let's talk about it more, because the legacy is deep.
I have to talk to you about your own legacy.
Let's do it.
You know, you've just dropped your second album. Does it feel like you're on the road to success? Does it feel like you've hit success? Like, what does it look like for you?
I think success is a continual, it's a continual effort, you know, in the sense that like there's so many things that that I've done in my career that some people would be like, okay, yeah, I've hit it, and you know, that's it. Now I could chill, you know, now I could coast. And there's so many things that I'm like, no, I still have to do this.
Yeah.
I still have to do this. I still have to perform these songs in Asia. I still have to perform these songs in Africa and South America, you know, because it's like, I'm not planning on stopping anytime soon, you know. Some of my favorite artists in the visual artists, they didn't get global success until they were like 60.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for me to be...
It would be nice if it was before you're 60.
Oh, yeah. What? Oh, for sure. Yeah. No,
Like, that would be
absolutely.
good.
Yeah, no, I'm not even saying that. Yeah, no. Definitely not. No. But I just say that in the sense that like they are still at the top of their game.
Yeah.
You know, in the later years of their life. So, you know, I definitely want to do a world tour. To me, that's a success.
Do you ever picture on stage in Lagos?
Absolutely.
What does that look like?
Absolutely. I think it'll be like songs of liberation for my people, you know, a set that would unite, you know, the different ethnicities in Lagos, you know, the Yoruba, Igbos, you know, Hausa, all the tribes coming together in the name of music. I think that's beautiful.